they had waiting in the wings were put there. Okay, so in the summer of 2017 it began. Where did Trump go first? He went to Saudi Arabia, and there he went and paid a visit to the Crown Prince. Now, let me just go back, and I apologize to everyone because I just have had so many names in my head here. But Al Walid it was the Crown Prince at that time. Now he got right into the whole adrenochrome thing and the harvesting of children, and Saudi Arabia began to put in massive tunnel networks underneath the ground. This is all because this Al Walid got sucked in by the cabal, the 13 families, as a huge player, one of the three main arms of their weaponry. So he was exalted with enormous power amongst the minions. Al Walid became one of the key minions by going really evil. And there are a lot of Saudis that didn't like this. They knew what was going on and they didn't like it. You can say whatever you want about some of their other beliefs and stuff, but there's a lot of people that draw lines with children. And so that's what he did, and this is why he needed to be taken down. And there are articles everywhere. You do your own research. The CBS News even did an article, and we're talking about weeks after Trump came and on his visit in July of 2017 to Saudi Arabia. After Trump left, that's when the arrests happened, and Al Walid was arrested, taken down, and in his place was bin Salman. And bin Salman is somebody who was not okay with what Al Walid was doing. Now, a bit of a backstory quickly here, because we got so much to go through, but Al Walid is the one that sort of handpicked Barack Obama as somebody that they could work with and exalt into power, and he's the guy that funded, and that's why Obama has this real kind of Muslim background, and sort of the whole Middle Eastern kind of thing with his name and all of it, is because it was this Crown Prince Al Walid of Saudi Arabia that decided to make Obama the one that they were going to turn into this linchpin of U.S. presidents. And so he funded Obama. And so Obama, if you're not aware of this, as a kid, Obama was passed around as a sex toy at some of these bigger gatherings of powerful men, and so he was sodomized, and so it explains a lot about Barack Obama, but it doesn't excuse him for anything. But just suffice to know that he had a rough upbringing, for sure, and so he was ripe for the picking, and they chose him, and so Al Walid funded him. And this is the same Saudi Crown Prince that got Saudi Arabia heavily invested into adrenochrome and child trafficking and the setup and the murder of all of these children for adrenochrome. So when Trump arrived in the summer of 2017, he laid out all of the documents. That's what they did to everyone. They had folders, and the folders had all the documents. There were photographs. They came with discs, CDs, and DVDs, and the CDs and DVDs had fantastic production value, and it had all of their footage doing the most horrific things. The NSA has it all on all of these people. And so I think probably the big things that scared them the most were these DVD compilations of their greatest hits of evil. And so Trump was there the first day, handed all of this stuff out. Now, this is absolutely the truth. What happened the second day? The second day, the Crown Prince and the King both submitted publicly control over Saudi Arabia to Donald J. Trump. And how do you know this? Because they publicly held the sword dance ritual which is a very, very big deal to the Muslim culture. And only the king holds the sword. And during this festival, of which, you know, we've got the images here, who's holding the sword, who's at the center, who's at the very center at the top of the podium, and who everyone else is around in support of. Donald Trump is holding the sword. He is at the center of the stage. This is Saudi Arabia publicly capitulating, and in one of the photos that we have, it shows the Saudi king, and he looks like he's about to die. He's in so much pain at what's going on here, and that's it. Because it was very fresh for them. They just handed over the keys to Saudi Arabia to Donald J. Trump, and that happened in the summer of 2017. That's step number one. After the declassify of this documentation via the NSA, this was step number one. Saudi was the big player that they needed to get on side. So what is important to note is that where Trump went next, he went with Saudi as part of his team. So you need to understand, it's not just that he didn't go there and take them down, and that they're never going to do it. No, they're now working for him. They're earning credits towards their own salvation and their own not being as harshly punished as they could have been, and all the rest of this. We'll see how that all plays out. But they're part of this team. They're part of the Q plan now. You need to wrap your heads around this. And the new crown prince that replaced Al-Walid was bin Salman, and bin Salman really stepped up and became a key player and did a lot of things to help Donald Trump, and we're going to get to that. So that was step number one. Step number two, and then the days that followed, Trump left Saudi Arabia and went immediately to Israel. Okay, do you remember how angry most of you got when you saw those pictures of Donald Trump at the Wailing Wall in Israel, and confirming all of our worst fears that you know, he was a Zionist tool?
After the video that I put out yesterday, a few people commented in YouTube that how can you be so naive? Trump is a Zionist tool.
Yep.
He's in there with, you know, the Zionist regime of Israel and all this. That seems to be one of the main bugbears that people have with Trump, and it seems to prevent them from giving him any further credence because they just write him up as a Zionist puppet.
Right, and you know, folks, let me burst your bubbles here a little bit. This whole thing with Israel being the linchpin and being the real kings behind this, and that these Zionists, none of it's even real. You're just going to see it's all fakery, it's all subterfuge. There is no such thing, and sorry, this is going to probably offend some people, but there is no such thing as a genetic Jew. There are lots of Hungarians and Poles and Czechs and Germans, and Jews are just like us. They come from all over the place. But there's no genetic race called the Jew. Israel is Colleen calls it the ultimate Trojan horse. It is subterfuge. It is designed to take you down a rabbit hole, and there's no getting out of this rabbit hole, because none of this really exists. Okay,
just like they're playing the black card right now.
Yes,
they like to play the Jew card.
They play the Jew card. So they invented all of this with Jews, and then the bad Jews, Zions, and I just feel terrible for all these people that have been dragged into this, that are innocent and beautiful people that you know truly see themselves as Jews, and that they're oppressed and they're hated by everyone, and now they're just being used by the Phoenicians. He's not a puppet for the Zionists. There are no Zionists. Remember, folks, there's just the Phoenicians. There's just those 13 families, and they're very smart, and they're very good. And they created this ultimate Trojan horse subterfuge of the Jew being a literal creation, just like, you know, you're going to hate this, but Jesus Christ being an actual, you know, Swiss-looking white dude in the Holy Land 2,000 years ago. That didn't happen. They're just lies everywhere. So Trump went to Israel and he sat down with everybody in front of the camera and behind the cameras, the people that are really in power, and he laid it all out on these minions. I'm talking to you, he said, not who you try to present yourself to be to everybody else, but I'm talking to you, minion, Netanyahu, and everybody else who is a child eater. This is for you, and you have a choice to make here. And Trump they were balking at him, even though he showed that the Saudis had signed over, and the Israelis were balking at Trump and were not prepared to sign over, and that's why Trump stayed an extra day, and they finally capitulated. And Trump was not going to leave Israel without them capitulating to him. And the sort of the how do you know moment is after visiting the Wailing Wall, Israel publicly submitted allowing the United States to move their embassy to Jerusalem, Jerusalem, LEM. To move the embassy to Jerusalem with our military, with the Americans' military protection. So this is symbolic. It is a symbolic act to show who has the power, even in the Holy Land, with the Jews and with these Zionists who are in charge of the sacred truth about the Jewish heritage and tradition. That's why it was done. It was only done for one reason, just to be a symbolic act to show those who had eyes to see it that Trump had now taken down Israel. They submitted. Step number 2 of the journey completed. Saudi Arabia, Israel on board. So where would he go next? Who are the 3 big players? Saudi, Israel, and then the Vatican. So days later, he shows up at the Vatican, and he presents to Pope Francis a massive, apparently the folder was absolutely huge, and handed it over to them and said, yeah, take your time, have a look-see, and put your red shoes on. They were apparently Trump kept making little digs at Pope Francis about his red shoes. Yeah, you might want to put your red shoes on when you look at all of this stuff, and you might want to wear your red shoes when you come back and give me your answer. So that's what Trump is saying. I'm not leaving here until you sign some documents for me. And we're going to get to why that was in a sec. But it took the Vatican that night, and the next day they capitulated to Donald Trump. And there is a very famous photo in that summer of 2017 with Trump at Vatican City, right next to Pope Francis. Pope Francis looks like he's been run over by about 60 semi-trucks. Donald Trump has a look on his face that is a mixture of victory, joy, and mischievousness. Like he knows he's committed a big act here. So Trump has a massive grin on his face, and Pope Francis looks like he's had both of his eyes punched in by about 60 thugs. He looks so horrific. And they symbolically signed off. Now, what did the Vatican have to do to sign off? You see, the Fed is controlled by a certain group within the Catholic Church. Who went forth and spread the teachings of Christianity? The Jesuits, because they're holy men. No. The Jesuits are the real mafia, my friends. Every little group of mafia in every single town around or across this vast earth, every little mafia pays homage to this particular group in the Catholic Church. They are in charge. They are the true mafia, and they were in control of the Fed. So Trump did not leave until Pope Francis issued a papal